Hey Max, what's happening?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, how you been since Mexico, since Anarchapulco?
Good. Been recovering the journey. It was an interesting journey, that one. That was actually the shortest trip I did away from home. That one, but 2.5 weeks or something I was away. But it was good. It was good. Good to be home. Good to have a year off travel. I've really been looking forward to doing that. So yeah,
Yeah, until September. So you've
until
been
September.
that's right, yeah. So you've been attending some local get-togethers about 5G recently.
I have. It's been really good. We've done a meeting here in the valley where we're taking action to stop a huge installation here in the valley, which has been quite successful. And we've got a barrister come on board here in Australia who's doing what he can to stop the rollout. But it's right on the borderline. I mean, they're rolling it out today in many places. So we're doing what we can, but it's an ongoing battle. You know, it's a good effort that we're mounting. I hope it isn't too late. Is the thing. I just hope we manage to roll back what's been rolled out already. But the barrister that I'm working with has had a reasonable amount of success so far, so it's looking pretty good.
Some of the people watching this might not even know why we're talking about 5G. So maybe to take a step up, take a step back real quick and talk about surviving the Matrix and the Crow House. So what is the Crow House? Is like the umbrella for your podcast, your radio show, Surviving the Matrix, where you talk a lot about 5G and how history is basically been completely rewritten, and we're up against some people who are basically criminals that run the world. So want to talk a little bit about your work and kind of, well, but maybe like a little bit about your back history and how you got into this. What woke you up, you know?
I woke up very, very young. I woke up when I was like 4 that something was terribly wrong, and I sort of lived my childhood in wonderment that I was living in a madhouse, and got kicked out of 4 schools by the time I was 17. And as soon as I was old enough to leave school, I left halfway through my third year of high school and became a musician and lived on the outside of society for most of my life. And it got to the point where, you know, the madhouse is the madhouse and you just kind of deal with it. But it gets to the point when 9/11 happened that it got serious. And I decided I needed to start speaking out and being an activist. So that's what I've been doing ever since 9/11. Unlike many people, I think 9/11 was the catalyst for a lot of people who'd been researching this stuff who suddenly saw that it was actually very serious. So we started speaking out. And 5G, with what's going on with 5G, 5G is a weapon system. You know, that's the main purpose of the 5G carrier wave is for weapons. If you look at DARPA, look at military applications, you can go to the DARPA website, look up non-lethal weapons, things like this, and you'll find out all what they can do with 5G. You know, it's being presented to us as a communication system, and that's all very well. It can be used for that, but that's actually its secondary purpose. It's actually a weapons system that's being rolled out around us. You can create active denial zones. You can track everything everybody does with 5G technology. That's where we're going, is to an ultra surveillance system where every move that everybody makes will be tracked. And with 5G, I mean, they can analyze your sweat glands. They can see how much you're sweating, how much you're perspiring, what your heart rate's like, even if you're a little nervous in their company. You know, apart from all the facial recognition and all the other stuff that goes with it, they have surveillance on so many levels with this. And when you start looking at the DARPA websites and you start looking at some of their applications for EMR weaponry, what they can do with mind control, mood control, all sorts of stuff that they've experimented with, all this is possible with 5G, and this is what is being rolled out around us under the guise of a communication system. You know, and even if you trust that and you trust the government, well, what about the government 10 years from now, 5 years from now? You know, who's going to be in power next? You know, we're allowing this system to be rolled out blanket over our nations, over our cities, and it's just not good. There's nothing good about this system at all. In faster downloads, we don't really need downloads to be that fast that it's melting our face off. So that's what we need to pay attention to. The 5G IoT surveillance system is the end game. The whole smart grid is the end game. This is the new world order. And that's what we need to pay attention to. And a lot of people just aren't seeing it. It's been kind of slipped out under the carpet while everyone's been waiting for this big military confrontation or something that looks like what we see in these dystopian movies. They're not looking at what's being rolled out. They're not looking at the technology that they're using and what's happening to their lives on an everyday basis, how this digital interface has been created, this digital barrier between us and reality. I assume we're going to need to punch in a code to access just about anywhere. And it's all getting pushed towards that. So we need to pay attention to it. We really do.
Aside from the invasion of privacy and ultimately the social crediting system, you'd say that there's
that as well.
physical, that. But aside from that, there's physical implications of 5G?
Well, yeah, what it does biologically, I mean, it's very bad for our bodies. I mean, they can do all sorts of stuff with this. I mean, just the cancers and the things we're getting now from the EMR that we're subject to, just the people that are allergic to the 20th century, that have trouble even with 3G and 4G, just the wireless waves all around them. And even when you go to places, I mean, you must have felt it when we were in Acapulco in that hotel there. With all of the people there on Wi-Fi in that big hotel, I have an enormous amount of trouble sleeping whenever I go to Mexico. I notice in those big hotels. I think that's just from the Wi-Fi, and that's just 4G. So, we're going to the next level. We're going to see an increase in skin cancers and tumors and all sorts of things with 5G. I mean, the experiments that I've done already show that it's bad for biology. It's been banned in several countries across Europe, several cities. Lots of places are outraged about it and are banning it. And yet we see other countries such as Australia and the United States that are talking about rolling it out as quickly as possible.
So the social crediting system that's happening in China right now, is that operating on a 5G network?
Well, they could do that without 5G, but 5G will certainly help it because they'll have that increased bandwidth. And they're rolling this out in Darwin now as well. In Australia, they're bringing in smart cities. Darwin is set to become Australia's first smart city. And they're openly talking about social crediting. They're talking about active denial zones, virtual fences that they're putting up around people, certain areas. So, and there's something like 1,600 applications for smart cities on the table in Australia now. So, I mean, this is like cities within cities. You've got a certain suburb of a city that is big enough to be a city on its own. So you've got like Parramatta in Sydney and certain sections of Brisbane have all applied for put in their applications to turn the place into a smart city. And when they're saying smart city, what they're talking about is social crediting, active denial, total monitoring. That's what a smart city is. They're not just saying, you'll be able to walk into your house and say, oh, illuminate and the lights will turn on. All of that stuff is way down the line. What they really want to put in place is cities that track you everywhere, everything you do, and monitor everything everybody does. Even what they're saying in Darwin, they'll know what footpaths you're walking on, what apps you're using while you're on your phone, what you're watching on YouTube, what you're posting on Facebook. All this sort of stuff will be instantly accessible to anybody. And it's getting to the point where if you ever get pulled over by a police officer, even in your car or whatever, they won't be asking you for your license soon. They'll be asking you for your smartphone. And everything will be on your smartphone, your license and everything that you've done, everything you've said, everything you've done for the last 7 years will all be on your smartphone. And people don't realize the level of surveillance that comes with their smartphone either. Now, these smartphones don't just listen to your conversations and track where you're moving. They've got barometers in them. They know when you're getting in and out of a car. They know when you're going up and down stairs. A smartphone can conceivably track you from your house to your destination, and it can determine when you got out of your vehicle, what shops you went into, who you spoke to, everything that you did. These are basically people carrying their own ankle bracelet around that's tracking every single thing they do. And people don't realize what these smartphones are and what this whole social crediting gig is going to be. This is where the crypto world falls down as well.
I was just going
I
to
mean,
bring up cryptos.
Cryptocurrency could be a great thing, in a world where it's all above board. And in the world we've got now where it's run by fiat banking cartels, crypto could actually free us from that. But when it gets to a point where you've got social crediting and everything is digital and your purchasing power is determined by your political viewpoint, which is where we're going, then it isn't going to matter whether it's crypto or whether it's fiat or what you've got in the bank if it is your social profile that determines your purchasability and your spending power,
in
then it
that
isn't going to matter.
society specifically, I suppose, because that what I was going to say, if that does happen, there will definitely be like branches, I would suppose, of people using alternative currencies that aren't accepted by society, I guess. But for
Well,
the
yeah, there
most
will
part,
be. But the thing is that if you go into a shop, even if it accepts cryptocurrencies, if your person is blacklisted, and therefore when you put your card in, it simply doesn't work because of who you are, because of the social credit points, then it's going to be very difficult to get around that.
yeah.
That's the problem. You know, I mean, the crypto world could be really good, but they're not noticing the umbrella of the IoT and social crediting, which is coming in over the top of it, is the problem. So this needs to be taken into account, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, otherwise you're basically just going to be able to transact with the people that are blacklisted. You'll have your outcasts, you
That'll
know.
be it. That'll be all you can do. You'll only be able to spend at those sort of places, and you know, it'll get to the point of, you know, if you need food and you need to pay your rent and you need normal things, you need to go and buy gas for your car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be very difficult if your purchasing power is limited by your political viewpoint. You know, and it gets to a point where they can just lock you out of everything. They can just switch you off. Just why they're moving everything to the cloud as well. The cloud computing. You know, they don't want everyone to have anything on their hard drives. They're saying hard drives won't exist soon. It'll all be on the cloud. You know, you won't even be able to keep stuff on your own computer. So, you know, once it's all on the cloud, then it's out of your control, and it's very easy for them to lock you out, and just lock you out of your life. And you've got kids that are growing up into this system, and their digital life is their whole world. You know, Instagram and their Snapchat, and the way they've got this, like I said, this digital interface between them and reality. And you get to a point where even the threat of being locked out of that is too much for people, you know. So, you know, the threat of being locked off the internet and locked out of your phone and not be able to access your car because it's all digital accesses to your car, digital locks on your house, all this sort of stuff. Once you get locked out, then you're locked out. You'll end up in the prison system because there's nowhere else that you can possibly go. And they've got things in China now like facial recognition glasses as well that the police can just wear, so they can pick you. Oh, there's Pat. There he is. Oh, look at his social credit points. We've obviously locked him out of his house
Oh,
and out
that'd
of
be
his
fun.
car and out of all of his stuff. So we may as well pick him up now and put him in the smart prison just to keep him safe, because obviously he's going to end up a problem because he's been locked out of the system. So they can just pick you out of a crowd and pick you up and put you away, and nobody will be the wiser. It's getting to the point now. I mean, they've got digital people now. They can just probably mimic you or mimic me and put us on the screen, and no one would even know we'd disappeared. You know, they've probably been sampling our
Yeah.
voice for the last 7 years. You know, so
I saw this app where they could make you take an image of you and make it an animated to side and make it look like you were talking. It's pretty crazy. So what do you
yeah.
think this whole, all right, obviously this system wants power, but what do you think it's repressing? What sort of truth? I mean, especially going back to how much history has been rewritten and changed to the understanding of the stars and like this and the spirit. You know, I don't know where you're at spiritually. I know you have experience with a lot of psychedelic plants and you have some sort of esoteric understanding of the universe, right?
Well, yeah, but you know, even when you look at this, I mean, this is a spiritual battle more than anything. This
Yeah, that's
whole
what I was.
respect for authority that we've got. This is all a spiritual battle, you know. This, if you want to come back to natural law and things like that, people have been asking me recently about natural law, and now is this the way to go to free ourselves from the system? I've been saying, well, yeah, it is, but you've really got to know who and what you are. That's the only way natural law works. It's a spiritual thing. Natural law is a spiritual understanding more than anything else. This is why I've been going down this pathway using the barrister for 5G, even though using the barrister in the legal system and all this stuff is not really the way to go, but it's a language that the man on the street can understand, and we have a real time limit here. We've got to do something fast that people can understand, which is why I've been going down that path. But ultimately, it comes down to a spiritual battle. This whole thing is a spiritual battle, and yeah, I mean, this whole system, natural law, social crediting, the whole lot, it's all about removing us from what we are. like removing people from any knowledge of themselves. And when you look at history and you look at how much things have changed, our history is completely wrong. And this is provable by anyone that wants to go out and really look at the world through open eyes. If you just go and travel around and start asking a few questions, you find that none of the stories I've been given us stack up at all. And I would suggest that we're in a situation where the population is raised, and then it's cold, and then it's raised, and then it's cold, and it seems to be a cyclic thing that happens all the time. I mean, we don't know. We honestly don't know. I mean, all I can do is speculate on what happened and whether it is cyclic. But the way they're taking the knowledge from us, remember you hear about the book burnings and all this sort of stuff, the burning of the Alexandrian library, how they did all this stuff. That's what they're doing now. They're taking the knowledge from us now. They're turning it all into digital knowledge, and they're getting rid of all the libraries. And you think about it. The first digital reader was called Kindle, and now you use Amazon Fire to read books. So they tell you kindle the fire. They're burning all the knowledge. They tell us what they're doing. I even wonder whether the book burnings that we hear about in the past were done in the same way, whether it was a digital thing. I even speculate whether the technology we're using now already existed. They just roll it out, a little bit at a time to make us see and like it look like a growth of technology, but it's come so quickly. The last 60, 70 years since the invention of television, look what we've got now. It's incredible how quick it's happened.
It's incredible.
And it seems unlikely that we would have just developed it all that quickly, that just really smart people got there and just did all this stuff. I would suggest it's already been here, and they just roll it out, get to a certain point, and they just cut us off at the knees, and then they do it again. Mm-hmm. That's speculation, but I wonder.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. So I read your bio on your website, and it briefly touches on something about the Bible. Now, what is your feelings on the Bible?
The Bible, I really, people may not like my theories on the Bible, but
fuck them.
I think it's part of the control grid. I really do. I even question, when I look at the Bible, and I look at the way it's written and the whole concept of King James and all that sort of stuff, I wonder very much whether the Bible was written by the same people who wrote the works of Shakespeare, which I think was the Bacon Society. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's where it comes from. The Bible in its current form is a book that's written to exalt the Jews and to turn everybody to be subservient to them. That seems to be the main purpose of the Bible, and it seems to be also used to get people to sit there in complacency. A lot of people are waiting for the world to turn to hell because they think it must turn to hell because it says so in the book. And I know a lot of Christians who actually really want to see the world turn to war and death and destruction because they think that when that happens, they're going to be saved. Christ is going to come back and save them. So I think it's very much part of the control mechanism. I think all religion is part of the control mechanism. I don't do any religion at all. I don't think that religion has any place in a sane mind, personally. I know a lot of people probably won't like that, but that's just how I feel about it. I think that Christ, if he was a real figure, he would be horrified that his life had been turned into a religion. And when really what he wanted was for people to follow the path that he was on. Jesus Christ was an activist. He was an activist, and he spoke out against the government, spoke out against the system, educated people on who and what they are, and that it was a spiritual battle. And he did fine with that. He was talking about that for years, and he had a whole group of people listening to him, right up until he went into the temple and he overturned the tables of the money changers and tried to attack the banking system. Then he was dead within a week. That sort of speaks volumes as well.
Right.
But I think a lot of his message has been misconstrued to cause people to sit in a state of complacency, thinking that it all has to turn pear-shaped and it's all written. And if they sit there and just maintain, then it's all going to be good. Someone's going to come and save them. When really what he was telling you to do was to stand up and walk away from the system and save yourself.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you next about religion. I share the same opinion. I think religion is bullshit, totally. And the Bible's interesting. I think it's just like anything else. The truth is 20% in there or so, and the rest is bullshit. But I only read a little bit of Genesis, and there's a lot of numbers in there, and it's like a puzzle, and it kind of just introduces you to sacred geometry. It's really interesting. And then you see this
Well, there's a lot
symbology
of
all
that.
over all over the ancient world.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that in the Bible. An interesting thing too is that all the legal system that we've got is based on ecclesiastic law. It's all based on canon law, Bible law. And if you want to get back to natural law, it says on page 2 of the Bible, God created man and gave man dominion over the earth. That's us. That's natural law. Everything below that is a creation of man. And I've actually used that with the legal system. You know, I've said that I don't believe there is anything that stands between myself and the God, my creator. You know, and it says there in the book that that's the way it is. And if you believe you have any authority over me, I need you to produce a contract bearing the wedding signature of God, which gave you possession of this vessel that I inhabit, which he gave me control of. So you can, I mean, that's natural law right there, is knowing that there is nothing between you and the creator, whatever you perceive the creator to be. And it doesn't matter what's in the book. It doesn't matter what anybody says. You know, it's your personal relationship with God that is important. You know, and that's what it's about. That's what their whole legal system is based on. So even seeing that is a great way through the system. You know, I mean, integrity has no need of rules. And if people are enforcing rules on you and they're not in integrity, well, they're not in law either. I mean, they're in abuse of the office that they hold. So, you know, that's the way people need to look at it. Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't do religion at all. I think the Bible is a huge part of the control grid. And like I said, though, I question whether it was actually written by the Shakespearean Society or by the Bacon Society. It's written in a very similar way, and I certainly don't trust King James. I mean, king, why am I going to trust the
Whoever
king?
wrote it, they were associated with some sort of group who studied, you know, hermetics and
And
creation,
gematria.
mathematics,
Yeah.
yeah, everything, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
natural law, golden ratio, Fibonacci,
Yeah.
pi, everything like that.
Well, the interesting thing as well is the Bible it's written is called the Word of God. And when you first get it in Hebrew, it's all one word. There's no punctuation. So it's said that you can't change, you shouldn't change the word of God. And the fact that they've even translated it into English means they've changed it. They've put in full stops and punctuation and all sorts of stuff. It was originally one big, long word.
That's exactly
So,
what it is. And you can do it in English. I found the sequence. It's a formula that expresses how a sphere clones itself and creates this inner vesica Pisces shape and creates toroidal flow and basically the illusion of matter. I made an animation called Illuciferium that basically studies the word God specifically in sequence and like all the bends and arcs of the word, and it creates a tier, a 3-leveled tier that expresses the golden ratio or Fibonacci sequence of creation. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and it's interesting how like Freemasons and all these ancient societies use a compass, a square, and a capital G as their symbology, because those are like the specific tools you would use to measure arcs in fractal ratios. Just really interesting stuff. There's all this stuff is like put in front of our face. It's in the Bible. It's in the logos of the cars that drive around us, and all the corporations, and all the media, and all everything.
yeah. Yeah, they put it
Crazy.
right in our face all the time, but people only ever see the surface meanings as the problem, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. You talk about natural law a lot. I'm sure you're really familiar with Mark Passio's work.
Yeah, Mark's a good friend of mine, a lovely guy. Lovely
Yeah.
guy. He's made a great contribution to people's understanding of this. Some of his seminars on natural law, I highly recommend people look at them.
Yeah, and the State of Anarchy is helping produce his up-and-coming documentary, Mark Passio's The Science of Natural Law, and we're premiering it at Anarchadelphia, so he'll be there as a speaker as well with you, and this is going to be a great time. We've got a lot of great people coming down for this one.
Excellent. Yeah, should be good. Should be good. I'll be looking forward to seeing that documentary when it's finished.
Oh yeah, we'll probably all be watching it together. A bunch of anarchists in South Philly, you know, hanging out. It's going to be fun.
Even the whole thing with the state of anarchy, I mean, you get to natural law, the state of anarchy, what is the state of anarchy? You know, it's a mental state.
That's right.
It's I've had police say to me here in Australia, you need to abide by the laws of the state of Queensland. You know, you're in the state of Queensland, you need to abide by the laws of this state. And I'll say to them, well, hang on, what is the state of Queensland? That appears to be lines as defined on a map, and I'm not standing on a map. You know, I don't understand what a state of Queensland is. I was in a state of quiet enjoyment before you came along, and now I'm in a state of confusion at your claim that I'm in a state of Queensland. Can you tell me what that is? And they walk away because they can't answer the question because it's a mental state.
That's
You know,
right.
the whole jurisdiction, it's a mental state. And that's what a state is, a state of anarchy. It's an inner knowledge. It's an inner knowing. It isn't this little area defined by a border on a map. Now you are in the state of anarchy. It's a state. It's a mental state. What is a state? People don't understand the language that they're speaking very often. This is one of the big problems that we have. So I point that out.
Yeah. And that's what we do. We report on the state of anarchy.
Good to see.
It's really great. So I just want to say that if anybody wants to use the promo code CROWHOUSE on the State of Anarchy shop or anarchadelphia.com, when they buy tickets to Anarchadelphia, they'll save 5% on their ticket, and we will donate 5% to you, Max.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and I've been promoting it on the radio shows. I'm looking forward to doing it. I mean, like I said, I wasn't going to travel this year, but you kind of talked me into it. And there's a wedding I can go to at the same time, so that's going to be cool. So that's kind of a reason for me to actually come and do it. But I really did want to have this year off. I've been traveling so much. I've been away at least 6 months of the year for every year since 2012.
Wow.
The last journey that I did was like 19 months on the road. And at 60 years old, it kind of really gets to you. I used to be able to do that sort of stuff when I was a young musician, but now I got home and I thought, nah, I'm staying home this year. I got offered all sorts of gigs this year, and I just thought, nah, I'm taking the time off and I'm staying home and just doing the radio show, working on the film. So, but it will be good. I'm really looking forward to coming out in September. It should be nice then. It should still be warm.
Yeah, it'll be beautiful in the Northeast at that time.
It'll be good. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
So, what instrument do you play?
Guitar. I used to play guitar. I still got a couple of old guitars. Maybe you can see over there. Don't know. Maybe you can see one. Got a mixing desk there.
Cool.
Maybe you can see some over there.
Yes, I do. An acoustic.
I got an acoustic. Got an electric there hidden behind the table. You might be able to see. Maybe not, but it's there. Yeah, still got a few guitars. Got the old Vox amp and a bit of stuff from the old music days kicking around.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of really cool art on your website, especially the pencil stuff. Some of like the really colorful, like psychedelic lands are really cool, and then like the pencil gears are really cool. But there's no music there. Where can we find your music?
Well, there used to be some there, but I had to delete. I ran out of web space. So I mean, it was only a few old originals and a bit of stuff there, but I've got arthritis now, so I don't play very much. So music isn't really a focus of me anymore. I mean, it was my life for a long time, but my hands won't really let me play anymore. So I've still got all these guitars and things, but I can't play them that much these days, which is kind of weird. I never envisaged that. I never thought there'd be a day when I couldn't play. And it's kind of come. So it's a bit of a shock. Just the last year, my hand has kind of messed up on me, and it's very, very difficult for me to play now.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, if it feels better by September, bring your guitar down, because we're going to have some awesome.
I'm going to bring the acoustic anyway.
All right on. Yeah.
I'm going to bring the acoustic anyway because I'm going to be going to Benny and Sonia's wedding in Spokane, Washington, and they want me to play some guitar at their wedding. So I'll battle through the arthritis to do that for sure.
Nice. Well, we can't wait to see you. Really excited to have you. Thanks for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, brother. It's been good to chat to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in September.
All right. See you then.
Thank you, brother.
I just put it back on record. I got to. I just hit record again. I got to. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Oh yeah, Anarchadelphia is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Join the State of Anarchy this September's Harvest Moon in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where this gathering of like minds aims to foster unbreakable relationships between the movement's leading forces, whom teach self-love and ownership, blockchain techno-economics, as well as exposing the Earth's sacred hidden knowledge. So will we see you there?
If our content resonates with you, then definitely subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button, otherwise you will not get notified when we drop dope videos like this. Share it, like it, or even dislike it, but let us know why in the comments below. Hook us up with a crypto tip. Check us out on Patreon. Anarchadelphia is going to be sick. Tickets are already selling. First come, first serve, because we can only sell so many unless we get a bigger venue. You can go to anarchadelphia.com to get your tickets at early bird rate right now. Or you can just go to the State of Anarchy and go through the shop. We got some dope swag. We're also going to be at Anarcho Vegas, July 19th through 21st. And then we'll be at the Red Pill Expo, June 7th through 9th in Hartford, Connecticut.